Hello everybody, CW here. I got another little project. This is a quick and easy one. Basically, it's just an upgrade. No, I'm not changing the scope. I know I do that a lot, but this is already a good scope and we're fine with that. Actually, I'm pretty fine with everything. But I want to upgrade to Weaver style rings. I'm still using the grooved rings here. So I reached out to Monstrum and I got one of their bases here. This is a Ruger American and they do come drilled and tapped. At least I'm almost positive that they are. I remember them being drilled and tapped. So I got a base and I want to change out to the base and then change out to Weaver style or pick style rings with the same scope. And I figured I'd bring you along and show you how I do this and still maintain, although it's not going to be sighted in, it's going to be on the paper so you'll save ammo resighting in. So I figured I'd bring you along for the ride. I, of course, can't show you everything because of YouTube rules, but some of it you know how it's going to go. So let's get set up here. I've got a muzzle device on here that we're going to have to take off, and I'll show you why. And I'll show you how I go about doing it. So get yourself a glass of sweet tea or something, maybe a coffee, sit back, and see if I do this right. Stand by. Okay, got you in the overhead view. Let's start out with safety first. Let's get the magazine dropped out of here. Easier said than done, working upside down. Of course, there's no ammo on the bench, no ammo in present at all, so we're safe that way. The gun is open. We're sure that it's empty, everything's clean. I just took off the muzzle device. This is a linear compensator, and I don't know the brand. Picked it up along the way. Just basically, it's a better thread protector, and it helps a little bit with the sound mitigation. That's why I like to use them. This is like I say, it's a no-name brand. I don't know who even makes it, but we got to get it off because I like to use these. This is a magnetic style collimator made by Bushnell. Leopold has one as well. This one, Bushnell, tends to be a little more accurate for me. I don't know why. But it's just a magnet, and you stick it on the end of your barrel, like so. And you're able to move it up or down based on how high your scope is. And you set it about the height of your scope so that you're looking directly into it. And then you look through the scope. And the power doesn't matter, but if you've got an adjustable parallax, set it at about 100 yards. And then look through. I like to go a little bit higher power just because things are falling down on us here. One of the Monstrum boxes fell down. They're stacked up a little bit too high above us here. So, all right, so look through the scope and record where the crosshairs fall on the grid pattern that you can see looking through the scope. So for us here right now, we are 1/3 to the left and 3/4 high on the first grid. So we're 3/4 high and 1/3 to the left. We're just going to write that down over here. 3/4 high and 1/3 left. And this is the Ruger 22 mag. Now, if you're keeping up with the videos, I've got the 782. We're still waiting for the Opticon. But I've got my notes over here as to where that was sighted with the same system so that we can repeat that. Okay, so next step. Let's pull off this scope. This is where YouTube gets a little bit funny. So let's get the bolt out of the way just to make it that much safer. There's our base. Let me put you in speedy mode so you can watch but not really see anything. Stand by. Okie doke, here we go. It's off. It is drilled and tapped, so we can get the rail on here. Just wiping things off a little bit. And a couple of little tips here. On your rings, when you take the covers off, the tops off, don't mix them up. Keep this one with this one, and this one with this one. And I even go so far as not to spin them left to right. So if it came on this side, it's going to stay on that side. These are machined, polished, made, designed, so they should be pretty much universal, you know, switch them back and forth and whatever. But why take the chance? You know, it's holding an expensive piece of equipment, your scope, and if they don't line up perfectly, you're going to mar your scope. So why take the chance? Just take them out of the box from the factory and keep the tops with the bottoms, and don't spin them around and change them. Keep them all in the orientation that they were when you bought them brand new. And that's the least possible chance of you having any kind of problems with alignment or marring your scope or anything like that. So just a quick tip from you. And these are good rings. These are Burris. Good quality, 22, 3/8, what, a 10 millimeter, 11 millimeter grooved receiver rings. But we're going to be better with this base and these rings. So let's go back, or let's continue here. I'll put you back in speedy mode. I'll get my fine screwdriver out here. I'll take out these plug screws. We'll clean out the holes, get the base on, Loctite it down, and then we'll come back and we'll look for appropriate rings. Hopefully I've got them. Stand by. Okay, this is pretty neat. I found 2 boxes of screws, 2 packages of screws. And it's really a good time to talk about this, because I was just watching another guy that I subscribe to on YouTube, Hopeful Ballistics. And he's got a really nice channel if you want to check him out. He's just started another Savage 22, another Savage build. Happens to be a 350 Legend. And the last thing he did was mount up his scope and rings, but he couldn't do it because Savage has recently made a change from number 6 screws to number 8 screws. And he didn't have the proper screws. Turns out the base height was wrong too, but he couldn't mount it up even if he had the right ones because he had the wrong screws. Monstrum came with both sized screws, number 6s and number 8s. So if they'd have done that for him, he would have been able to mount up his base. So just a quick note, that's the reason that there's 2 sets in here, number 8s and number 6s. I believe these are number 6s, so we'll just set these aside for another day. But there we go. All right, back to speedy mode. All right, I just torqued these down to 25 inch-pounds. You can get torque specs online for any screw size. You don't need to worry about what the manufacturer tells you. Just look it up online based on your screw size. They gave us an extra screw, which is nice, and they gave us a wrench, which we have a million of them. We'll put it all right back in the package and put it away for next time. Okay, so there's our base mounted. We checked to make sure the bolt runs, to make sure your screws aren't too long. Everything is now attached. Looks pretty good. Nice clearance around the feed port. No problem with clearance on the bolt. This is an extended bolt aftermarket with a knob that I made. I just like round knobs. So we still have our device on the front for the scope. Now let's see what we have for rings. We're probably going to need some low rings. So let me look and see what I've got. All right, so I got 2 different kinds of rings here. I've got a Leopold PRW and a Warren. And they're they are both really good rings. The Warren is just a whisker lower than the Leopold. Just a whisker. So I'm going to go with the Warren because I like things as low as I can. But they're both really good steel rings. I'm not worried about lightweight here. I'm worried about quality. And these Warrens are top shelf. So let's get these on the scope and then on the gun. It gave me a little bit of difficulties, but I got it on there. The trouble was the recoil shoulders in here, in these rings, fall out. And sometimes you need like 4 hands. When you're doing rings like these also, the ones that are vertical, it's important that you clamp the ring to the base before you snug up the tops. So the tops here, where the that are above the scope, these should be just loose, just barely threaded in, but not touching the bottom at all. So the bottom, where it clamps on the rail, is what you would tighten up first, and just snug them. Also, as I try and remind everybody all the time, is when you put a scope on, you want to make sure you push it forward. So before you snug down the screws, push each ring forward so it's pushed up forward against the lug in each ring. And then check your eye relief and then snug everything down. So we're now at the point where these are just snugged with fingers so they won't move. And I leveled it. My level was off a little bit. It was on here, but I leveled everything off the rail, in my hands with the scope, and then leveled it so that it's square. All right, so now we're level. Let me get the torque wrench back out. These are going to be 18 inch-pounds for the scope on the top. The bottom can be a little bit more, but most scope manufacturers like 18 inch-pounds. 18 inch-pounds. You have to excuse me. I bit the side of my lip and I talk a little bit funny because of it. All right, stand by. Okay, everything's tight and snug. The last thing that we're going to do now is set our reticle back to the same point that it was at, and that is three quarters up the first grid and 1/3 to the left of the first grid. So let's see what we've got here. Right now we are 2/3 left and 1/3 up. So it didn't move a whole lot. So we're going to come up 3/4 and we're going to come back to 1/3. That's about right there. And that'll put us back on the paper so we don't waste ammo. And there we go. That's how I change out a scope or reposition a scope. In this case, we just upgraded to a better mounting system with a Weaver pick rail from Monstrum. So, really good install there. I'll take a couple of pics here and close the video up. God bless everybody. Hope you have a great day. CW out.